If you're involved in the business of persuading people, or if you sell anything, this video is going to teach you the most powerful hypnotic selling skills ever created. Welcome to my video teaching embedded commands. I'm Marshall Silver. Have you ever felt an almost subconscious draw to do something and you weren't sure why? Have you ever had the experience of meeting someone now with so much personal power that you were magnetically drawn to their charismatic personality? How would you like to be able to create that kind of energy in yourself and to cause others to feel drawn to your ideas and concepts, to your product or service? There's truly no such thing as random thoughts. Thoughts are triggered by either conscious or subconscious stimuli. That stimuli can take many forms, such as something you see, hear, feel, taste, or smell. The scent of a meal cooking in a restaurant can trigger thoughts of your childhood and send you instantly back in time. For someone who's afraid of snakes, seeing a live snake could trigger responses from long ago. Even creative thought that may seem original is actually triggered by an existing stimuli. Since all thought is actually a response to outside stimulations, then it's only logical that when you learn to direct those stimulations, then you can receive and isolate those portions of your communications that may be triggering others to respond. Only then will you become more effective. Embedded commands were initially created by a hypnotist named Milton Erickson. He discovered that by isolating a command statement within a sentence, he could actually cause a person to respond to it as if it were their own thought. Do you remember in the Star Wars trilogy where Obi-Wan Kenobi was talking to the stormtroopers and he said, "These are not the droids you're looking for." And the stormtroopers said, "Oh, these are not the droids we were looking for." When a person believes something to be their own thought, they'll not only resist it less, they'll actually be substantially more likely to respond to it. Embedded commands give you the power to actually program another person's mind so that they believe the thought they just had was their own. As I teach you about some of the different kind of embedded commands, I'll first teach you the command, and then I'll teach you how to apply it to selling your product or service. The first kind of embedded command is called an associative embedded command. Our subconscious mind has an infinitely powerful ability to notice everything that occurs around us. Our conscious mind will only pay attention to the primary communication signals. Since our conscious mind is called our critical factor, it's mostly responsible for protective measures and for the power of reasoning. It's involved with logical decisions. It's the mind you're listening to me with right now and determining whether the information I give to you works for you or not. Subconscious thought is emotional. Since all persuasion occurs first on an emotional level and then is backed up on a conscious level, you must learn to communicate directly to the subconscious or emotional mind. An associative embedded command goes something like this. Have you ever met a person now that the moment you met them, you really liked them and you didn't know why? And have you ever met a person at some other time that the moment you met them, you didn't like them and you didn't know why? Let me repeat this again. Have you ever met a person now that the moment you met them, you really liked them and you didn't know why? If you have, just nod your head. And have you ever met a person at some other time that the moment you met them, you didn't like them and you didn't know why? Now, even though I just asked you the two previous questions twice in rapid succession, I know because of my understanding of the human mind that you only perceived on a conscious level what your conscious mind deemed necessary. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, noticed everything. If I were to ask you to repeat back to me the two questions that I just asked you, about liking people and not liking people, if you were to repeat back to me using the exact same words that I used, you'd probably say something like this. Have you ever met a person and you liked them right away? And have you ever met someone and right away you didn't like them? Now, even though you'd be close, you'd actually be communicating something totally different from what I communicated to you. The considerable difference is due to the structure of my communication, and also that the majority of the communication was nonverbal. Watch me again and notice the subtleties of what is actually being asked. The first time I asked this question: have you ever met a person now that the moment you met them, you really liked them and you didn't know why? What am I really asking you? I'm really asking you if you like me, aren't I? Now, the key word in that question was the word now. The second question I asked you was, have you ever met a person at some other time that the moment you met them, you didn't like them and you didn't know why? The key words that time were some other time. In the audio portion of this subconscious training system, I teach a section on time distortion and time transcension. The previous command statement about not liking someone at some other time is projecting those negative emotions away from me to some other time you didn't like someone. For information on how to make your client's objection seem like something from a time gone by, refer to your audio cassettes. The most powerful portion of this whole command is the nonverbal command that accompanies it. As I ask you the question, have you ever met a person now that the moment you met them, you really liked them and you didn't know why? I'm actually pointing at myself. Now, the reason I'm doing this is that the moment I ask you the question, you must, in order to answer that question, go back in your mind to a time when you met someone or an instance when you met someone and you really liked them. You don't have to go back to a specific moment, and yet you have to access the feeling. The moment you access the feeling of liking someone the moment you met them, I direct all of your attention to me by pointing at me with my hands. What that does is it causes you to begin to associate my face with those wonderful feelings of liking someone the moment you met them. The same was true of the second question. What I did was got you to associate the yucky feelings of not liking someone with someone when you look away from me. Now, how would I use this powerful process to sell something? Here's an example. Let's imagine I am going to sell my new book to my publisher. I might hold up the manuscript and say, have you ever wanted to publish a book now, the moment that you read it? The moment they answer yes, I'd begun anchoring them to my book and associating wanting to publish the book with the book that I had in my hands. How would this apply to me selling a home? Let's take a look. Have you ever seen a home now that the moment you saw it, you really loved it? And what was it about that home that you now love? Your goal as a salesperson is to get a person to make an emotional shift and then to attach that positive emotional shift to what you're selling. The reason the associative embedded command is so powerful is that it is actually an irresistible program to the subconscious mind. Since every thought has a psychosomatic response or a physical response in the body, the question will cause a physical shift in the person being asked that question. In order to answer the question, the person being asked must go back to that feeling of liking a product or service. The moment they do that next step, you've got to get your client to focus their attention on what you're selling. The reason that subliminal video is illegal is that visual links are so strong it would give the people using them an unfair advantage. If the movie theater where you went to see a movie were to include a frame of hot buttered popcorn every 7th frame, it would create such an urge within you to eat popcorn, it would give the theater an unfair advantage. Visual links are always more powerful than audio links. This is why subliminal audio is not illegal, because it's ineffective. Take the time right now to write out some of your own associative embedded commands for what you sell. If you're having a tough time, then refer to your subconscious training system workbook or call my toll-free support line at 1-800-92-POWER. The next kind of embedded command you're going to learn is called a directive command. A directive embedded command is best described as words from above. Recently, I was with my nephew, and he was arguing with his mother, my sister, because he didn't want to eat his peas. I said to him, of course you can't now eat your peas. You're not old enough. This is a directive command by the way the words now eat your peas is positioned. The words are arranged to make for a specific command to take action. In this example, the action is to now eat your peas. Notice when I delivered those words, there was a shift in my tonality, and I slowed down the delivery. It's almost an imperceptible slowdown, and yet deepening of tonality and slowing down of the delivery makes it a more effective command. Research has proven that lower tones have a greater impact on the subconscious mind. This is one of the reasons that you hear more people in the news media with lower voices than with high-pitched voices. The lower tones are always more credible and actually easier to hear. For more information on presentational skills, be sure to watch my video on hypnotic presentation skills in this subconscious training system. Here's another example of a directive embedded command. It's easy to get what you now want is more powerful than saying, it's easy for you to get what you want now. It's more powerful to say, it's easy for you to get what you now want. In the first example, the words now want are a direct command to now want. When I use those semantics, when I'm working with a client, it will actually turn up their wanting level to the point where they'll be more likely to now take action on their own behalf. Let's combine the directive embedded command with the associative embedded command to make for a more powerful suggestion. Here's an example for selling a home. Have you ever been in a home now that the moment you were in it, you really wanted it? And what was it about that home that you now want? I'm sure that you can now understand the ways that you can now use directive embedded commands to now get what you want. I'm also sure that you have noticed in the previous types of embedded commands that the word now creates a powerful motivator to cause a client to take action. The use of the word now before the specific action that you want your client to take will give extra motivation to make them move to your point of view and causes them to believe that it was their idea. For further information on the formatting of associative and directive embedded command statements, refer to your Subconscious Training System workbook or call the toll-free support number. The next kind of embedded command I'm going to teach you is called a geographical embedded command. To help you understand a geographical embedded command, listen first to this definition. A form will expand to fill the concept of the space that it enters. A form will expand to fill the concept of the space it enters. Since reality is created through validation, and what the mind expects it tends to realize, it will fill in the blank. So anytime you can create an image in another person's mind of a tangible object, any other object that enters that space of that image will tend to take on the characteristics of that imagined object. Let me explain it in another way. When I'm able to describe something to you and position it into a particular place, any similar object that enters that place will take on the attributes of what I just described to you. Now I know this still may be a little bit hard to understand, so let me demonstrate it to you. If I were using a geographical embedded command to sell this glass of water, it would look something like this. Refreshing, exhilarating, cleansing. Cheers. The moment I put the glass into the space that my hand was motioning in, as I described those attributes of refreshing, exhilarating, cleansing, it takes on those characteristics. Some people may ask, wouldn't it just be easier to hold up the glass of water and say those things? Remember that the whole key in persuasion is to get your client to set aside their resistance of their conscious mind and to believe that the suggestions that you're giving to them on an emotional level are theirs. The more they think it's their thought, the less resistive they'll be. The moment I tell you the water is refreshing, exhilarating, cleansing, the moment I tell you that directly, you'll make me prove it. When you come to that conclusion yourself, there's no resistance. Here's another example of a geographical embedded command. Recently, I was contracted by a major computer company to teach their sales staff how to sell computers. Here's the way that I became an expert computer salesman in the minds of the students. I said to them, I don't know much about computers, only what I need to know to use them. I also have never sold computers before. Imagine, though, a man who is a master at selling anything. Imagine a person who could teach you how to sell more computers in less time than you ever thought possible. What if that person were to share those skills with you in such a way that you would have an overwhelmingly strong urge to use them? I'm going to talk to you about selling computers. The reason this is so effective is that when I'm describing the expert to them, It's as if I'm describing a second party. When I step into that space, though, I will, through nonverbal communication, take on the characteristics of what I just described. How would we use this process to sell a home? Let's take a look. You know, I'm almost afraid to show you this property because the moment you see this home, you're going to want it. You're going to absolutely fall in love with it. Step inside. How would this look selling a car? Here's what it would be. Imagine an automobile beside me. As I'm talking to my clients, I'd motion toward the car and say, imagine a car so powerful that it rockets you down the freeway. Picture a car so safe that you'd let your own mother own one, and so gorgeous your significant other may just get jealous. Take a look at the new sports model. When I motioned toward that car, that last embedded command was called again a specific command. It's called a specific command because it tells a person exactly how to feel. How would you use a specific command to take the benefit of your product or service and project it onto another person you're delivering the benefit to? I'll give you an example. Instead of selling the product, you are directly commanding your client to experience something. I'll give you two fun examples from everyday life. The first one is one that you can use immediately. The next time you're hugging someone, it's less powerful to say, "Oh, that hug feels great." It's actually more powerful and a projected program to say, as you're hugging them, "You feel fantastic." In that second example, you're actually commanding someone to feel fantastic as they hug you. When you say the words, "You feel fantastic," that is a direct command. Here's another example. I recently did an in-house sales training program for a retail furniture chain that sold many bedroom units. When they started shifting their presentations from saying, "This is a comfortable mattress," to saying, "You really feel comfortable sleeping on this mattress," they increased their sales tenfold. In home sales, the way you would use it would look like this. Instead of a realtor saying, "This home has a first-class security system," it would be more effective for the realtor to say, "You feel safe and secure as you walk through this home." You see, the second is a direct command to tell the client to feel something. Or for a home buyer that's buying up or upgrading their residence, you might say, "You get a sense of feeling like you've arrived just walking through this house." The last subconscious suggestion also had a direct link that links being in the house or walking through the house with feeling that they've arrived. For more information on direct links, refer to both the audio portion of your subconscious training system as well as your workbook. In auto sales, it might look a little bit different. It might look like this. Instead of a car sales consultant saying, "This car has a first-class security and alarm system," it's more powerful to say, "You feel safe and secure knowing that this car has a complete first-class security and alarm system built in." Or if you were selling a vehicle to a young professional, instead of saying, "This is one of the finer things in life," you'd be more persuasive when you say, "You deserve the finer things in life. Let's look at this new car." The last kind of embedded command is actually a very simple command that's more powerful than you might recognize until you use it. By now, you've learned a lot about hypnosis. And by now, you're moving in a direction that will allow your customers the privilege of owning your product. Also, by now, you understand that the subconscious mind takes everything it experiences as a direct command. And by now, you've learned the subconscious mind doesn't spell. Since it is non-critical, it can only respond to the direct suggestions that it receives. The simple words, "buy now," are a direct command to the subconscious mind to purchase immediately. You've just learned more about the use of embedded commands in the last few minutes than most hypnotists ever learn in their entire lifetimes. You've learned about associative embedded commands, directive embedded commands, geographical embedded commands, and specific commands. You've also learned a simple command to buy now. Since this technology is so powerful, I trust that you'll use discretion and use it only in a win-win negotiation. Combining embedded commands with all the other hypnotic selling skills in this subconscious training system will help you to create totally irresistible presentations. Thank you for letting me be a part of your quantum leap toward greater success as a salesperson. I look forward to serving your empowerment needs in the future. I'm Marshall Silver. Have a fantastic day.